But how do you feel about the whole game manager, game changer type conversation?
I'm sorry, I have to address this. Of course game manager is an insult. Of course game manager is a slight. You know where the term came from? The term game manager came from the 90s and 2000s when we had guys like Steve Berline or Ty Detmer who couldn't do anything. Or Alex Smith, hey, I know it's asking too much for you to throw it over 15 yards. So could you at least complete this screen pass? Could you at least do that? We're paying you millions of dollars. Could you manage to at least throw a bubble screen without the receiver having to die for it like his life depended on it? Could you at least manage that? That's what we're talking about when we said game manager. Like Matt Hasselbeck, can you not throw interceptions? Just manage the game, okay? Stop throwing pick sixes and manage the game properly. So it is, of course, a slight for Cam Newton and all these other people to say, "Oh, what? I never meant anything bad by it. What's wrong with managing the game? That's a good thing." That is like saying to your girlfriend, "You're turning into your mom. You're turning into your mom." And then after 2 hours of arguing, you're like, "Whoa, what's wrong with that? I like your mom. There's nothing wrong with being like your mom." Come on, dear. Is that gaslighting? I'm not up to date with all the fancy terms all you guys use. I'm not up to date with that. Or the pronouns. I don't know what's going on with that. I'll stay out of it. I'll leave it up to you. You let me know when you guys have figured it out. But I don't know if that's gaslighting or what it is, but it's bullshit.
But what do you see from this Brock Purdy guy?
I think the thing I see is something that I think I figured out, right? It wasn't about me. It was about getting the ball to the people who knew what to do with it.
Now that is very interesting. Do you realize Joe Montana said, I figured out, and Brock is figuring out, that all you have to do is get the ball to your game, to your playmakers. That's all you got to do. What Joe Montana doesn't realize is that for a lot of players, that's the hard part. For guys like Cam Newton, Trey Lance, Lamar Jackson, Josh Allen, that's actually the hard part of the game. What's easy to Joe Montana and Brock, and what a lot of fans think is easy, is actually the hard part of playing the position.
You know, it delivers a great catchable ball. I mean, you talk to these guys and they'll tell you, the ball, very rare does it come in there harder than it's supposed to.
Because what happens is they have kids, right? There's these kids, they're big, they're strong, they're fast, they throw the ball hard. So scouts or coaches or parents say, you know what, you can make a lot of money playing quarterback. I can teach you to be proficient enough at passing to make a lot of money and maybe win some games. But make a lot of money. That would be the main goal here, is to make a lot of money. But for Joe Montana and Brock Purdy, no one's knocking down their door because they're physical freaks. Nobody's like, oh my God, Joe Montana. I know Joe Montana can dunk a basketball, please. I don't need to hear it again. For them to become the starter of their high school teams and their college teams, where likely there were people more physically gifted than them, they had to have innate intangibles, which allowed them to do that. So Joe Montana doesn't understand what's easy for him is actually hard for other players. That's actually the hard thing to do for a guy like Josh Allen. I'm sure Brock Purdy was wondering, why doesn't Trey Lance just play like a quarterback? He would if he could. He would if he could.
And we had, especially late in my career, when you got guys like Jerry Rice, John Taylor, Brent Jones, Roger Craig, on down the line, all you got to do is get the ball to them.
Yeah, to me, that is what sets Joe Montana apart from Steve Young. Joe Montana went 13-3 and won a Super Bowl with this roster. We were 12-5. Joe Montana went 13-3 and won a Super Bowl with this roster. Listen, Dwight Clark is pretty good. He's pretty good. He's not 13-3 good. Okay, Joe Montana won a Super Bowl with that. Tom Brady won a Super Bowl with Danny Amendola. Peyton Manning won a Super Bowl with Emmanuel Sanders. Although, to be fair, Jimmy Garoppolo could have won a Super Bowl with Emmanuel Sanders. But Peyton Manning won a Super Bowl with Emmanuel Sanders. Patrick Mahomes won a Super Bowl without Tyreek Hill, injured, and with the half-rotting corpse of Travis Kelce. So, to me, that puts him in another class than regular Hall of Famers like Steve Young, who are great in their own right. But Joe Montana, Tom Brady, Patrick Mahomes, Peyton Manning, a different class. Now, I did want to address some of the comments about Trey Lance. This guy says, I hate Trey Lance. I'm hating on Trey Lance. I do hate Trey Lance. I also hate Jimmy Garoppolo. He said, oh, I bet you didn't say this about Jimmy Garoppolo. I was going to say I said worse, but no, probably about equal. I hated them both. For me, if I can't win a Super Bowl with a guy, why are we wasting our time? So I hated Trey Lance. I hated Jimmy Garbaggio. I hated Jeff Garcia. I despised Jeff Garcia. And I hated Alex Smith because I didn't feel like we could win a Super Bowl with them. Brock was the first one where I thought, maybe we can win a Super Bowl. But that has always been my position. I only want to win a Super Bowl. So if a guy can't do it, get him out of here. Cycle the next one through. If he can't do it, get the next one and the next one and the next one until we win a Super Bowl. That's my position. Now, I said that Bill Walsh was kind of a dick to Joe Montana. This other guy says, what do you mean? I thought George Seifert was the dick. George Seifert was a bigger dick to Joe Montana, but George Seifert was a defensive guy. He had no emotional connection with Joe, whereas Bill Walsh had a mentor-apprentice relationship with Joe Montana. So for Bill Walsh, to me, what Bill Walsh did was more hurtful because he's like the mentor. But he looked into upgrading Joe. He looked into trading Joe long before Steve Young. Long before Steve Young, Bill Walsh already considered trading Joe. And you could say that's just Bill Walsh's philosophy, get rid of them a year early, but that's not what it was. It was people blowing smoke up Bill Walsh's ass. Just like what happened with Tom Brady and Bill Belichick, that happened with Joe and Bill Walsh. When people are blowing smoke up your ass, telling you you're a genius, you start to believe it. You start to think, maybe it's not Joe, maybe it's all my system. Maybe I could do this with somebody else. And that's not a criticism of Bill Walsh, that's a criticism of the human condition, whether you're Bill Walsh, Bill Belichick, Elon Musk, Taylor Swift. If people are telling you how great you are all the time, you're going to start to believe it. And to Bill Walsh's credit, he did realize later on how great Joe Montana was. And in fact, he spent the end of his professional career looking for the next Joe Montana. So Bill Walsh was at least smart enough to figure that out in the end. As did Tom Brady and Bill Belichick. I think they both realized how great they had it together.